Tom Hunt.
Madam Deputy Speaker, it's a pleasure to speak in this debate. I think it was correct that the Prime Minister placed cost of living so central to the Queen's speech, and I appreciate that some steps have been taken by the government already. I appreciate that the situation is challenging, the fiscal position the government faces is challenging, but I am of the view that more does need to be done, and I'm glad that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have indicated that this will be the case, and I'll be watching the situation with interest because, like many colleagues, we would have knocked on huge numbers of doors across our constituencies or other local areas over the last few weeks, and we would have had those conversations with people who are struggling to get by at the moment. And of course, that would also be supplemented with our surgeries and our casework. So I think we really do need to grapple that. There was much I welcomed in the Queen's speech. One of the other issues that always comes up with me is our town centre. It's of great concern for many of my constituents who feel as though the town centre has gone downhill. It's our main civic place, and it's something of great passion for. And the most frustrating thing about the town centre is at the moment it doesn't quite seem to work, even though we have so many brilliant small independent business people and entrepreneurs trying to make it work. And just this Monday, I was fortunate enough to have the Chancellor of the Exchequer in Ipswich, and he met a number of those business owners. We went to micro shops on Car Street, which is basically a pop-up facility. So local people who've got an idea can get a foothold, try it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's less high risk. But for most of them, it has worked. And actually, 17 small independent businesses are now in there, and a number have actually got other premises in the town are expanding. So it's I was very pleased the Chancellor was able to meet them. There are too many buildings, significant buildings in Ipswich, which are empty and have been allowed to collect dust for far too long. It's very pleasing to see that the old post office building that has been empty for years has now got the Botanist, which is quite a high-end sort of cocktail bar, has opened up, and on the topic of al fresco, with lovely outdoor seating spilling onto the Cornhill. And I was very pleased to be able to attend a soft opening, a soft launch, and a hard launch. On the first one, I had completely non-alcoholic cocktails. On the second one, I was convinced to have one alcoholic cocktail, and I would very much advise everybody to go there if they're in Ipswich. So the measures with regards to the compulsory rental auctions, powers that local authorities can use, I welcome, because we sadly, it has been too difficult to try and get many of these important buildings back onto the, and as much as I'd like to just blame, part of me would be tempted to blame the Labour Council for all of that, it would be wrong for me to do that, because it's far more complicated than that. Because often it is the owners of these buildings who, frankly, haven't done enough. And actually, the owner of the building on Car Street, which is now home of microshops, deserve credit for showing the initiative to get that going. It's just frustrating that an initiative like that has taken so long to get off the ground. But also in terms of our town centre, though, to get that thriving again, we do need to look at and try and address my constituents' concerns about antisocial behaviour in the town centre that is persistent. And there are many of my long-term Ipswich residents who don't go into a town centre, particularly at certain times of night, because they don't feel safe, they don't feel secure. So having a good high-peace presence in key parts of the town is important. And quite frankly, if there are large groups of invariably young men gathering in groups, drinking alcohol when they ought not to be doing that, and making inappropriate, lurid comments to women of all ages going into a town centre, then I think we need the police to be incredibly hands-on and interventionist to just disperse and disrupt those groups, and enforcing no alcohol zones as well, which hasn't been happening to the extent that I would like. That desperately needs to be addressed. Our town centre is of immense importance to my constituents. In terms of